Welcome in. Today we're talking about another season prediction. We're talking about Tennessee Volunteer Football. Really excited about this team. This is actually a team that I feel like could be poised for a lot of success this year and kind of building on what they did a year ago with Josh Heupel as the head coach. So let's dive right in. So first of all, offensively. This is a team that is very, very explosive on the offensive side, but I found it really interesting how much their scoring actually impacted their wins and losses on the field. And the reason why I say that is because they were 7-1 when they scored 35 or more points. Now, that's asking a lot. 35 or more points every game, that's a ton, but 7-1 in those games, pretty good. But they were 0-5 when they scored less than that. Has a lot of pressure on this offense, and they're going to have that same kind of pressure this season as well. Luckily, they have a guy who could be a dark horse Heisman candidate this year in Hendon at the quarterback position. Really good player. He's got a little bit of a dual threat capability. As we saw a year ago, his 31 touchdown to 3 interception ratio is phenomenal, and something that really set this team over the top because he was able to take care of the ball while also taking shots downfield. And I think for a team like this, they really need a quarterback like that. And I think Josh Heupel put him in a great position to be successful. And now this year, he's just going to be a year better. Last year, 68% completion percentage, which is great. 3,500 total yards, 36 total touchdowns. He was really, really good, but now he has to take another step. And basically, this all comes down to just maturing in the offense and making everyone around him better instead of just, putting up empty stats. He's got to be able to go out there and win more football games. So you look at kind of the talent around him. They lose Velus Jones. He got drafted by the Chicago Bears, but you return all-SEC performer in Cedric Tillman. You bring in USC transfer Brew McCoy. You have Jalen Hyatt. I think they have a lot of weapons around him at the wide receiver position. And then they also bring back Jabari Small at running back. So really all the talent, skill positions, I find it to be very talented. And I think Hendon Hooker is going to make all of these guys even better this upcoming season. If you look at the offensive line, this is an area they need to improve. And while they return a lot, and that makes you kind of optimistic for the season, it's just one of those groups where you go, okay, they gave up a lot of sacks last year. They were 123rd in the nation in sacks allowed, which, again, that's another credit to Hendon Hooker, right? Like, he put up all these numbers, and they still couldn't protect him. So if they protect him this year, just get a little bit better, that will definitely help some things. They gave up over 3 sacks per game a season ago. If that gets better, I like what they can do. They run the ball okay, so they're already kind of up to par there, but just pass protection. If it gets better, I like the ceiling for this offense going into next season. Moving on to the defensive side. This was a bad defense last year, 90th in the country. They gave up 29 points per game. That's not very good, and the sack numbers weren't very good. They only had 34 sacks last year, which is really confusing in my eyes because that was around 43rd in the country, but they were 7th in total tackles for loss. So they had an ability to get into the backfield and make plays and wreak havoc and destroy offensive schemes, just not in the pass game, and they weren't able to get after the quarterback enough. But I think that changes a little bit this year. And the reason I say that is because what I saw from some of the individual guys on this roster is that I think they have the ceiling to get after the quarterback. It just didn't go out on the field a year ago. So you're looking at guys like Byron Young, Tyler Barron, those two guys, very active on the end. I think they're going to be able to form one of the better duos in the country getting after the quarterback. Then at linebacker, they got Jeremy Banks, who I think will also be a nice addition blitzing-wise, getting after the quarterback. Up front on the defensive line, they're trying to figure out that nose tackle position still. Omari Thomas, Elijah Simmons, those are a couple guys that I think fit in nicely there. Dejon Terry as well could be a name to keep an eye on. It's depth, but they lost a lot on the defensive line. So they're going to have to figure out how to replace those guys with this group of unproven but talented prospects. You look into the secondary a little bit. You got Trayvon Flowers, you got Jalen McCullough, so you feel okay about, the ceiling at safety. And I think they'll be pretty good there. They brought in some transfers as well. It's an area that they're going to have to shore up this year for sure. It's not going to be a finished product probably until the middle of the season, but at least you have a couple guys to build around in the secondary. We'll see if they can step up to the plate because they are going to face offenses that are going to try to score the ball a lot on them because Tennessee's going to be scoring a lot of points. So they're going to really have to shore some things up on the back end. Now let's take a look at their schedule real quick. So what I see on the schedule, here are the wins. Ball State, Akron, UT Martin, Missouri, at Vanderbilt. That's 5 games that I feel really good about on their schedule. So that just means in order to get their over-under, which is at 7.5, they only need to win 3 more games. I feel like that's extremely doable with the rest of the schedule remaining. So if I kind of look through it, the losses, Georgia and Alabama, I don't think they're going to win those games. It's a tough ask for anyone. Now, can they compete in those games? Could they pull off an upset? I think so. I think they're talented enough to do that. I'm just not going to predict that currently. Close calls, so games that I think could go either way. At Pitt, at South Carolina, Florida, at LSU, Kentucky. That's 5 games right there. And if I were kind of betting or doing the math a little bit, I think they beat Pitt. I think they beat South Carolina. And then I think they beat at least one of Florida or Kentucky. And that's 3 wins, and that gets you to the over of 8 wins. I think they could push for 9-3 this year as well. I'm really high on Tennessee. I think that they have an offense that's going to be very tough to stop. But then I also think defensively, they have enough playmakers to create turnovers and I think get after the quarterback, which was something they were lacking a year ago. But overall, this is a program trending in the right direction. Josh Heupel is recruiting at a very high level. They have great talent on the offensive side, and they're getting there on the defensive side as well. They're one of my safer picks. At 7.5 being the over-under, I feel really confident that they're going to cover that over, and I think there's a chance that they could get to 9-3 and potentially compete in the SEC East, even though, yes, they are not going to be the favorite due to Georgia being there. But the Vols are definitely trending up heading into the 2022 season. So that's it for today. We will talk more season predictions throughout the week, but this is it for today. Thanks for joining.